Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in Jew. Are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. So this is what happens when a studio, a company, doesn't elaborate on a really controversial situation. And that situation is the Snyder Cut. So I'm going to elaborate even more on what happened with John Campea and him saying that the Snyder Cut doesn't exist. So this is an exchange between him and Jay Oliver, who, of course, is the artist who's been involved with Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Zack's version of Justice League. So this is the gift that keeps on giving. Campea just can't help himself. No, it doesn't exist. Snyder was talking on stage and confirmed he was talking about an assembly cut. Every movie has different stages of assembly cuts. They are not completed versions of the films. Get over it. This is Jay Oliver. Jesus, I'm not even going to get into this. John, please do us all a favour and give it a rest. Seriously, you are embarrassing yourself. And that's exactly right. Because as I said on this morning's DCEU Daily, and you can go and check it out now, it's just premiering, although it won't be premiering by the time this video uploads because my internet's rubbish. And we know the Snyder Cut isn't 100% complete. We know it needs about 20%. It needs the score. It probably needs some more CG, more editing. But it's nearly done. Zack said that, and he never mentioned an assembly cut. So, as I said earlier, but this is the opportunity that you give people like Campea to come out and say something, because no one apart from the director and the fans are speaking about this. And this is why I've tagged you, Warner Brothers. Please come out, make a statement about the Snyder Cut. Talk honestly. I don't want to hear statements about it being ready or not ready. I want you to admit of its existence. I want you to release this film. Because this morning I've been watching Man of Steel. Later on I'll watch Batman v Superman. Yet again, I've seen these films so many times. Wouldn't it be great for us, the fans, who love what Zack did, and David S. Goyer and Chris Terrio? Wouldn't it be nice for us to see these trilogy of films, this story? We're not asking you to bring Zack Snyder back. We know that's not going to happen. But it is in your power to allow Zack Snyder to finish up his cut of Justice League, or at least come out and say something, clarify the situation. It's all about you and your reputation. I don't think this is about money or profit or loss of earnings anymore. I believe this is about your reputation. What do you want your legacy to be with these DC movies? You have got a film that was put together so rushed that it just wasn't the standard of any film that Warner Brothers should be. Warner Media, you are like a new company now since AT&T took over you. It's up to you, AT&T, as well, to look at this situation with your hearts. What is the right thing to do here? I am going to support the other DC movies, no question about that. But if you release this movie, what would that say about you and your company? I hear a lot about this branding of kind of toxic fandoms. But people who criticize big companies are not toxic. They're just customers. The customers who sometimes, if they're displeased, are going to tell you that. But people can't always eloquate how to talk, and maybe they do it in the wrong way. That doesn't make them toxic. That makes them unsatisfied customers. And being someone who used to work for many supermarkets, for many retail outlets, in my past life, if you like, I know that the customer's always right. Sometimes you don't like the customer. Sometimes you're tired and you just want to go home and have a rest. But the customer keeps you going, and you have to please them. Your customers, not all of them admittedly, but a lot of your customers love Man of Steel, love Batman v Superman. We know you wanted those films to make around $1 billion each, and they didn't. We know that critics and the mainstream audience didn't like these films. We know you're course correcting right now, and that's fine. That's great. But you have an opportunity to allow the fans to say goodbye to Zack Snyder from this DC universe of films in the right way. There's a right way of doing things and a wrong way. At the end of the day, if you were displeased with what he was doing, you shouldn't have allowed him to do Justice League. You should have allowed Joss Whedon to make the film he wanted to make. Let him take a couple of years to make it. But you didn't do that. You hurriedly brought Henry Cavill back with facial hair. And then the CG didn't do a good enough job. Let's not talk about good enough job. It was an embarrassing job because the people were being rushed. It's not the people in post's fault. It's your fault. It's Kevin Sugihara's fault. But you know what, Warner Brothers? Everyone makes mistakes in life. I make mistakes every second, every minute, and that's fine. But at least, if you don't want to admit to your mistake, just release the cut. Just release the cut. Let's finish this. Let's finish the Zack Snyder era of DCEU films in the right way. Let us have a physical copy of this film. What are you really going to lose? A few $1 million? So what? So what? At the end of the day, you are a multi-trillion company, right? And you can take the hit. You can give us, the fans, a gift. And we will give you back the gift of loyalty. We'll be on Twitter and social media saying what a wonderful company you are, that you made a mistake, that you removed the director after implementing him to make a film, even though you knew what kind of director and filmmaker he was. A unique, independent filmmaker who makes very unique films. You knew that already from Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. You had your opportunity to remove him after those two films and you didn't. So the mistake was yours. But then to remove him and allow a director to hurriedly put some of his film together and some of his own film together so hurriedly was your mistake. It's nobody else's. It's not the fans. It's only your mistake. But as I say, people make mistakes and that's fine. But that film you released is so unprofessional, and it really is an unprofessional film in so many ways, because the creatives and the talent and the artists who had to do that film were rushed and put under pressure by your then president, or whatever his title was, Kevin Sugihara. Well, he's been removed now. You are creating a clean slate with the DCEU. And I understand that. And I embrace that. Shazam and Aquaman are great first steps. Brilliant. And I embrace what you're doing. And we understand that you've learnt your lesson and you're letting the directors make the films that they want to make. And you've got good producers now involved from New Line Cinema who will work with the directors, not against the directors or not to dictate to the directors. And I respect that move. But this is your moment, Warner Brothers. This is your moment to forget about everything that's gone before and just release Zack's cut. Let him put together the movie he wants us to see. So those of us who are interested can see it. But you see, the truth is now, it's not just the Snyder fans who want to see this film. More of the mainstream audience are quite intrigued by it and would like to see it themselves. Whether you release it in theatres first or on your new streaming service, the Warner Media streaming service, it doesn't really matter. But please, Warner Brothers, I'm not here to attack you. I've been supporting you all my life. When I see that WB logo, the hairs at the back of my neck stand up. You know, I love Warner Brothers. And you make mistakes. And we all know you're trying to play catch up with Disney. And it's difficult. Because ultimately, the MCU is a brand that works and is really happy. It's really difficult to pattern a successful thing, a successful brand. So I don't think anyone's going to have the success that they do. I think if you blank their minds and they tried to do it again, they couldn't. It was just something that happened, that was put together, and it works. And the mainstream audience trust it and go and watch it. But what you're doing now, creating universes within universes, this franchise will be unique and it's going to make money going forward. And I understand that. And all us, the fans, are asking you is to allow Zack Snyder to finish this, to gift this gift to the fans. You would be doing this. You would get the credit for this, right? Just do it. Release the Snyder Cut. Forget about the mistakes that have been made. You don't have to come out and admit to anything. Stop the hit pieces. Just come out. Say that you respect the fans, that you respect Zack Snyder, that you've enjoyed working with him, and say, we're going to allow Zack to put together his final part of his Man of Steel trilogy. Let him do it. Please. I know maybe you'll be losing a lot of money, but what you gain in respect and love and admiration from the fans will be something you can't get from a box office, from a billion-dollar movie. Because word of mouth and reputation, Warner Media, is all you have. And if you can't even give the fans something you want, what are you worth anymore? We all make mistakes. Please, let us have this film. This one thing, when I fantasize about watching this film, I get so excited about, watching all three films together, is a beautiful thing. There's a lot of us who love Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. There's a lot of us who don't. And that's fair enough. I still believe if you promoted and marketed Batman v Superman more honestly and told people what kind of film it was, instead of making people think it was a beat-em-up, which it wasn't. There was the fight there, but you plugged it about who will win. Instead of saying that this is a gritty film with depth and character development. If you told people the truth, like Fox did about Logan, if Fox had told the audience that Logan was going to be this, mainstream popcorn chomping movie, and they saw what they saw, I think people would have been genuinely, understandably disappointed, even though Logan is an amazing film. And this is what happened with Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman is an amazing, unique, individual movie that we'll never see again in the likes of mainstream blockbusters or comic book movies. I think your mistake was just not telling people what the film was. And I hope going forward you learn that lesson. But for now, as I say, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I can do your job better. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I love Man of Steel. I love Batman v Superman. And I know millions of people around the world do as well. And I'm just asking you to give something back to us. Because that cut of Justice League didn't just embarrass you. You embarrassed us. But worse, you embarrassed Henry Cavill, a really nice young man who goes around, doesn't embarrass the name of Superman. Look how you made him look in that film. That wasn't very fair. And now we don't even know, Warner Brothers, if he'll ever be Superman again. That's not fair to us, and that's not fair to him. So I beg you, release this movie. Let Zack put his vision together. Release this movie and tell us if Henry's going to play Superman or if you're bringing someone else in. Tell us your plans for Superman as well. Come out and be honest to the fans. And you know what you'll get back? Adulation, respect, and love. And we will come out to all your movies, not just the comic book movies. Imagine that. You and the audience as one. And in your fight against Disney, that will be the greatest weapon you'll ever have.